Welcome back. In this session, we are going to create Dockerfile from scratch and run a container out of it. Yes, as I have said in the previous session, we are going to do our first Docker project lab. So, in this session, you are going to understand a complete developer workflow from the ground. So we will take a simple Node.js application, then we will turn this into a Docker image. So we are going to build a Docker image for this Node.js application. Then we are going to, okay, from this Docker file, you're going to build the image, then we will run the container, we will inspect it, then also we will understand how to manage the container with the different Docker command. And this is what we do as a DevOps engineer. So there is a prerequisite. So you has to has a Ubuntu virtual machine with public IP and port 22 and 3000 need to be open. So this Ubuntu virtual machine could be anywhere, maybe you're from AWS or from Azure. So go ahead and get a virtual machine with Ubuntu operating system and make sure port 22 is open because we need to do SSH to install the Docker and do everything. Then again open port 3000 from where we are going to access our application. If you have, then you are good. If not, please go ahead and do that, then follow along. I have already did this first step, and here you see I have a virtual machine and I have already did SSH, you see here. Okay, and port 3000 is also open. Next, what we need to do, we need to install the Docker here. So click this link and you will go here. Again, this is on my GitHub repository, demo, Docker demo, and this is the first link, install Docker. We are going to follow this and install the Docker because we know Docker is needed to run a Docker container, right? So this is prerequisite. So I should not be doing this in all upcoming labs. So in upcoming labs you should has to has this Docker installed. Okay, but this is first lab, so I'm doing this in front of you so you also get familiar, and again when I'm doing multiple time you will get confidence. Now after that we need to add this gpg key. So let me add this and then add this repository. Now you see there's some longer steps in this because we are trying to run Docker as a in a production, right? So we have to make sure everything we are doing as a standard. So follow this, and once it will done, it will take some time. Okay, so Docker installation takes some time. Then we will check the Docker version. Then we will again we need to start and enable it. So whenever these virtual machines restart, stop, our Docker will be started. Now check the version, perfect. Now we'll start it and enable it. It must be running, no issues. Yes, now we have started and enable it, and then we can check the Docker status and it must be running. We see here, let me close this. Now we can run the Docker run hello world, but it's not going to run, we know, because we need to add the current user in the Docker group. Let me do that, and then we need to log out and log back, right, using this command. And now all set. Now you can go ahead and run this, it will work, no problem. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. So let's go back here. Now all set. Okay, so from next time when we will do any lab, so I will expect you should have the virtual machine with opened port and also Docker installed. Now first part of this project is to set up the project directory. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a my app and then we will cd there. And if you remember in the previous session when I was explaining, so our application was my app, right? So again, we are following the same structure, same pattern to make sure we are on the same page. So if you notice in the my app, there was a file called package.json, right? So let me touch this, and now we are going to put this code. Okay, now open vi package, and let me paste this, and here you see my application name is my node app. Okay, this is my application version. Okay, then main server.js, I'm going to create it. So this is main file to start this application. Then how it will start? It will start with node and server.js, right? So let me save this, and then we'll create our second file server.js. Touch this, then we'll open this, and we will put this piece of code over here. So vi server.js, and I enter it. So here you see, so to run this application we need http package. Okay, so again this is dependencies. It's going to run on port 3000. Then here we are creating the server with request and response, and this is listening on the port, okay, on the local host on the port 3000. And if all goes well, okay, we will see hello from inside the Docker container. So let's save this, and let me clear the screen. If you do tree, I don't think tree is installed here. Okay, we can install here. So just wanted to show you, okay, it has the similar structure what we have seen in the previous session. Okay, let me clear the screen, then run the tree. Okay, now we see in the my app we have package.json and server.js, right? And here one file is missing, docker file, correct? Now let's go ahead. Now next step is to create our docker file, correct? Let me copy this and touch this. Now we are going to add this all code. Now this code is exactly same what I have explained you in the previous session, right? So I don't need to explain it again, but quickly we'll do the walkthrough. So make sure you are same page, on the same page. Less docker, right? So again you see, so to run this application we are getting the node 18 version base image, and we are setting up the working directory. We are copying package.json, right? Then installing the dependencies, then copying all application files, exposing port 3000, then running application with node and server.js. No rocket science, we already understood this. Perfect. If something is not clear, copy this code, go to the chat GPT, send it and say, hey, could you please explain this? It will explain you once again. Okay, perfect. Now at this point, again, if you go and run the tree, then we see our Docker file need to be there. Where? In my application, correct? So let's go ahead and write the tree, and we see in our my app we have all these three files, and all are good at the same place. Let's go and see the next steps. Now this was the first step, first part of this assignment. So we created all folder and all required files. Now next part is we are going to play with the Docker. So we are going to build the Docker image. To build the Docker image, we are going to run this command. And what is this command? Let me explain you. So here we are running docker is CLI, right? Passing the command build, then minus t is, so this is tag. We are tagging the image what we are going to build with the name my node app. Okay, and then to build the image it needs the docker file, right? So here we are saying get the docker file from the current directory. What does it mean? It means we should be running this command from our application directory. Let me show you. If you go here we have the docker file, right? So it's expecting run this command from here. Let me show one thing. Let me close this, okay, and let's go one step back. Okay, clear the screen, and if you see here, we don't have Dockerfile, right? If I go and run this, it will give you the error. You know why? Because it's not able to find the Dockerfile. It's saying failed to solve, failed to read Dockerfile, right? So this is not open. Okay, open Dockerfile, no such file or directory. So it's not able to find the Dockerfile. Okay, so what does it mean? It means we need to go in my application, clear the screen, and if we run from here, it will work. Okay, so let's run this. Now you see this is building the image, and what exactly this is doing when this is building the image. So this is doing all the steps what we have explained in our Docker file. Here let's scroll up and see. First of all, it's going to follow these steps. So this is one step, second step, third step, fourth step, 5, 6 and 7. So we have 7 stages of this image. Okay, so when Docker, try to understand, when Docker build a image, it's built in a layered way. Okay, so that's why if you scroll down here, you see, okay, it's one of 5. Okay, so first step was getting the Docker base image, right? So 1 of 5 it was doing. So it's got the Docker image. Scroll down, then you see second is setting up the working directory. So that was the second layer. Okay, third layer was copying the package.json, and fourth was running npm, and fifth was copying. Okay, then it's exporting the image, exported the image. Now our image is ready with name of my node app. Okay, so this is layered image. So when this build the image, it has each and every layer. Now in case if xyz reason, if you don't want to build the layered image, then what you can do, you can pass this no cache, means it will skip the layer caching. So when it's building the image, it's caching the all layer, so it will cache it. Okay, this is advanced section, don't worry, just for your information. Then let's say if you have the Docker file with the different name, okay, then with minus f hyphen f we can pass the file name, okay, where the file name is. So we can specify we have the different file, and again where in the current directory. So by default it's go and try to find Docker file. Okay, but let's say if you are building the different Docker file for the production, right? So maybe you can add .prod extension. So maybe production you are running on the different port, right? So a small difference. So if you have this kind of requirement, then you can use minus f, okay, to give the name of the Docker file. Perfect. Now let's verify the image. How do we verify? Using this command docker images, and this will show you all available images here. So as of now we have only one image, right? So Docker image, we see my Docker app. This is our image name, tag is latest, this is the ID, it's created 2 minutes ago, and total size is 1.09 GB of this image. Size is very important. I will explain this maybe in the next section. Okay, don't worry. But yeah, this is very important when you are working as a DevOps engineer in the real time application. Now we can inspect the image if you want. To inspect means if you want more details. Okay, so using docker inspect your image name. So leave it, I will do it later. Means you can inspect your image, your container, your volume, anything. So, okay, so if you want to inspect, want to look more detail about your image and containers or any docker object, okay, then we use inspect. Now next is we have the Docker file, we had the Docker file, we created the image, then what next? We can run a container. To run a container, you already know we can run the command called docker run. Now let's understand this. So what we are saying here, docker run, then minus d means detached mode, means run this container in the background. Then we are doing port mapping. So application is going to run on the port 3000. We already know how, because this is what we have defined in our docker file. In docker file we have defined our port, right, exposed our port. So we are knowing application is running on port 3000. Now then we are doing port mapping to the host. What is the host? Host is this virtual machine. So we are saying expose this container on this machine on which port? On port 3000. So we will be able to access this application from our this virtual machine, this host. I will show you in a moment. Then we are again passing name of our container. What is name? My app container. So name we are giving. Then this is the image. So image what we have created just before, right? So we will use this command to run our container. So let's go ahead and run this. And now you see this is created a container with this id. Now here you can go ahead and use docker ps command to see the running container. So let me clear the screen and paste this, and now you see we have a container running. Let me make this screen little bit small so you see everything in one line, so it will be easy for me to explain. Again little small, don't worry, I'll zoom in again, maybe little bigger, no, little small, yes, perfect. Now let's understand this. So this is our docker id, so this is a small id, okay. And now this is our image. So using this image it's created our this container. So this is container name and it's created 16 seconds ago, okay. Status is running from last 16 seconds, and this is our port mapping. One things keep in mind, okay. So here you see this port mapping here, or maybe if even if you're not mapping this port to the host, so if you run a container and if you don't see this, means your container is not running, okay. So these two steps is very important, status and the port. So sometime when you run docker this command, docker run, it will go ahead, it will create the container, but it will not run if there is some error, some problem while running the container. So you will not see the status and again the port. So always keep close eyes on this two part of the running container. Perfect. Now maybe let me make this screen a bit bigger so you can see it. Okay, I think I need to make it smaller a little bit first, then bigger. Okay, perfect. Well, now let's look at our documentation. So ps, now we can go ahead and access our application from our VM public IP, okay. So let me get public IP of this VM. This is the public IP, http, and let me paste this. This is IP, and then what we did, we exposed this container on the host on port 3000, right? So mostly we will see our application is running. Now you see we are able to access the application from port 3000, is saying hello from inside docker container. Well, amazing, right? Now we are accessing the container which is running on this virtual machine, and if you go here we can see this ls server.ls, right here, hello from inside docker container. Now this application running from where? This is running from our docker ps from this container. Okay, so application is running from this container and we are able to access from our browser. Well, just clap for yourself if you're following this, understanding this. Well done, a good milestone is achieved. So what we did, we created our first Docker file, we built image, we run our container, and we able to access from the virtual machine public IP on the port because we exposed port. Perfect. Now here we can run some more operation on this container. Now let's understand this one by one because this is important for you as a DevOps and cloud engineer. So first command we already know, docker ps, we can see the running containers. Yes, so docker ps list running containers. If there is also containers that are not running, those are stops. So using docker ps you cannot see that. So if you want to see those, then you need to run docker ps minus a. So list all containers including stop one. Okay, so currently we have only one container, so we cannot see other container as well, but you can pass this command to see all running and stopped container as well. So try to understand this. This will become very handy. Now we can go ahead, if needed we can stop our container. So using docker command stop, and this is our container name, right? Let's go ahead and do that. And stopping container takes some time. Okay, so couple of seconds, and now once it will get stopped, then we will go ahead and test our previous two command. So this got stopped, right? Now guess, if I do docker ps, what will I see? Nothing, right? Because we don't have any running container, because our container is stopped now, right? So what we do, docker ps minus al. So now we see this is our container, right? This is our container. What is status? This is exited, so this is not running anymore. Well, now let's go ahead and practice some more command. So now if you want to start the container, we can go ahead and start this using start command. Very simple. Paste this, is started. Now go ahead and see. Now we see our container is running, right? And maybe we can go ahead and stop again, and we can test it. Actually I forgot to test it here, right? Now this application is running, okay, and once it will stop, then this will not work, correct? Let's go ahead, refresh this. Is gone because we deleted the not, we stopped the container, right? Can again go ahead and start this. Started, refresh this. Well, working back. Super. Now let's go back here. Then again we can restart it as well if needed. We can remove it, and we can also remove the image. So this is for the removing the container, and this is for the removing the image. Don't worry, we'll practice this later. Without removing, we don't want to delete it because we cannot practice other commands. Now scroll down, and let's see if you want to see log of the container. Okay, then we can run this command, docker logs and container name. So let's go ahead and run this here, and we see our container is running, right? And this is log. What we see, we don't have much thing in our application, right? It's very simple, couple of lines of code, right? So we don't see any logs. But now you know, if you need to see the log, how you can see if something is, let's say you started the container and this is not working, what would you do? You need to check the log. So how do you check the log of the container, running container? Using this command. Perfect. Now let's say you want to go inside the container and see something and debug it even further, or maybe you want to run some command. Okay, so you can run this docker exec minus it, means interactive, or container name, then sh, or maybe bash as well. Okay, so using this cells, okay, we can go to our container. Let's do that. Let's go to our container and we will see what we have in our container. So type this. Now you see we are in our container. Okay, so this is container ID. Now where we are in the container, we are in the slash app, correct? So this is a working directory what we have set up. If you do ls, right, we see docker file, docker, okay, log.json. So when we do npm install, so out of this it's create the all dependencies file. Okay, file, okay, all dependencies in this file. Okay, so that's called package log. Then these two files was already there, right? So this what we have copied using the copy command, correct? That's why you see over here. So you can go ahead and run any commands over here. Now you see how to come inside the container. Now let's exit from here. Okay, now we are on our virtual machine. What else we can do? Okay, as I said, we can go inside the container, then you can do the ls, right? We have already seen. We can also do the cat to see what file is there. Maybe this is really good. Let's go ahead and see what we have in package.json, right? We can do ls package hyphen log, right? Okay, so less command is not working here because less is utility, right? System utility. So this is not available in the container. Now we see this is code present here, right? So this is here. Perfect. Now you know how to come in the inside the container and debug it and do whatever you want to do. Perfect. Now scroll up and we can start. Okay, this is very good point here. Here, if you want to get low level of stats of your container, we can run this command and this will show you the memory CPU utilization of the container like top, right? So when we run top command, then we see details about our container. Similar here we see what is the CPU utilization, okay, what is memory utilizations, okay, so everything we see here. Let's go ahead. If you can maybe run here a couple of times, okay, then you see some difference here. Okay, you see this is getting changed, correct? Memory CPU utilization. Go ahead, try a couple of times. If this is a real application, okay, you see more details over here. Perfect. Now you see if you want to check how this is, okay, control C, no, command C, what happened? Let me type the exit. Okay, control Z, it's got closed. Perfect. Let me clear the screen. Okay, now see some more commands if I have. Perfect. I think that's pretty much I've added, and there's some more command you can practice. Okay, so let's not overwhelm. Now we can go ahead and stop the container, then remove the container and remove the image. Okay, so if you want to delete the container, so first things first, you need to stop it. Okay, without stopping you cannot remove it. Let's try this. If let's go ahead and get this and try to remove the container. Remove means rm, remove. Okay, so this will say this container is running. Okay, so please go ahead and stop this first. So what we need to do, we need to stop this. Let's go ahead, stop, and stopping again text sometimes, and then we'll go ahead, remove this. Yes, got stopped. rm, perfect. Now docker ps, okay, ps minus al, nothing is running, correct? Now docker images, we have one image, we can also remove this image. So using docker rmi remove image, then image name my node app. So this got deleted. Now docker images, now you see we don't have any image. Perfect. So that's pretty much I wanted to cover here. So what we have understood, you have dockerized first Node.js application. Please Watch these videos couple of times if needed, and practice as many times you want unless and until you feel confident. Okay, and please go ahead and practice all these commands. You should know all those commands, get familiar so you can use it whenever needed. Then you know, most importantly, when to use which command. Well, so that's pretty much for this session. In next session I'm going to do another hands-on, and we are well no so in next session, now this image, what we did, we have created the image, run the container. In next session we are going to publish this image on the Docker hub, so even we can use in the later, or maybe you can share this image link to the someone in your organization or colleague, so they can use this image to run their application. Well, so that's pretty much for this session. Thank you so much. See you in the next session.